Oh, hallo, ich möchte über mein Lieblingsdeck sprechen, Dimir Mill. Sorry there, just a bit of flashback from German. But anyway, accessibility features for you German watchers out there. Hope there are a few. Anyway, sorry for the wait. I like to just open the video with that. We haven't done a video, it has to be about a month or so now. And I'd just like to apologise and tell you that we're starting a new type of video to the channel, and that is Magic the Gathering videos. And this one is a Dimir deck tech, and basically go over my Dimir deck, which is black and blue, and give it a review for you, and I hope you enjoy. Okay, we're going to start with the land base here. We have one Dimir Guild Gate. So basically enters tapped, and I can add blue or black to my mana pool. Then we are running 11 swamps and 11 islands, so 50-50 split. Okay, moving on to our creatures now. I am running a playset of Dustmantle Guild Mages. First of all, there are 2/2 for 1 black and 1 blue, and its first ability is 1 blue-black. Whenever a card is put into an opponent's graveyard from anywhere this turn, that player loses 1 life. So, if the reason I'm playing this card is if I can't successfully mill my opponent to death, I'm gonna turn the life points to zilch using its first ability. So it's kind of obvious here. At the beginning of each turn I activate its ability, and then I can stop milling. That means if I pay the ability and do a Tome Scour, that's 4 to mill 5 cards and to deal 5 damage, which is pretty insane. Especially for a mill deck, not an aggro deck. And here we have 2 Consuming Aberrations. It's a 5-drop, 3 blue-black. Consuming Aberrations' power and toughness are each equal to the number of cards in your opponent's graveyards. Whenever you cast a spell, each opponent reveals cards from the top of his or her library until he or she reveals a land card, then puts those cards into his or her graveyard. So what it basically does is every time I cast a spell, it grinds each opponent for 1 land, roughly about 2 cards, 3 on average, and it gets even more powerful when I'm doing like a 2+ game, like a 2-headed giant, because its power and toughness are the total of all cards in all graveyards. So late game, you can imagine this easily getting to 30-30. Again, not what you expect from a mill deck, but there you go, full of surprises. That's a Dimir for you. 2 Mirko Voss Mind Drinkers. He's the maze runner for Dimir, actually. Rightly so as well, because it's a 2/4 with flying for 5. Same as Consuming Aberration, 3 for blue-black. 3 in blue-black, sorry. And whenever Mirko Voss Mind Drinker deals combat damage to a player, and that player reveals cards from the top of his or her library until he or she reveals 4 land cards, and then puts those into the graveyard. So whenever this deals combat damage, it's grinding the opponent for 4 lands. And since decks are roughly 40% lands, that's 10 cards on average each time I attack with Mirko Voss. So he's a pretty insane card, and I can use all my Cypher abilities on him, which makes it even more powerful. And those stupid burn decks can't get rid of him easily because he's on 4 toughness. 1 Difficult Rogue. I have another one in my sideboard. I'm just deciding whether I should put another one in. Tell me in the comments. So he's a 2/2 for 1 blue or black, blue or black. Difficult Rogue can't be blocked except by rogues. So I'm using this card mainly for my Cypher abilities, just to get them used. unless they're using a rogue deck, he's pretty unblockable. Clone. What this dude does, he's a 4-drop for 0/0, which isn't pointless because if you read his ability, he enters the battlefield as a copy as any creature on the battlefield. If my opponent's got a really powerful creature out, I do it on that. Otherwise, I do it onto a card called Aetherling, which I'll get onto later. Next, Jace's Mindseeker. Foil, naturally. He's a 4/4 with flying for 4 blue. And when Jace's Mindseeker enters the battlefield, target opponent puts the top 5 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. You may cast an instant or sorcery from among them without paying its mana cost. So, if you take out 1 blue, because it's effectively Tome Scour, so you're getting a 4/4 with flying for 5, and then you can cast any of the milled cards or one of the sorceries or instants for free. So if they've got a burn deck, you can use one of their burn spells on their own creatures, which is quite funny to do. And now this card I was talking about earlier, Aetherling. He's a 4/5 for 6, 4 blue, same as Jace's Mindseeker. And basically, I don't think you can read that, and there's a good reason. Because you can virtually do anything you want, really. He's got 4 abilities. For blue, you can exile him and return it to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So what that basically does is it stops your opponent being able to remove him with cards like Doomblade, or like any removal cards, because I can just blink him out for 1. They've wasted the card because his ability goes on the stack, and yeah, it's pretty hard to get rid of. Next one, I can pay blue and make him unblockable. And then his 2 other abilities are one generic. I give him +1 -1 or -1 +1. So I could swing for 8 and make him unblockable, which is pretty cool. And if they decide to use a burn spell, I'll blink him out. Final creature, Cryptghast. This one isn't Dimir, it's Orzhov actually. It's a 4-drop for 2/2, and he has Extort, which I don't use, but it's the last ability that you should focus on. Whenever you tap a swamp for mana, add black to your mana pool. So what this does is it doubles the amount of black mana I have, which is really going to help for my sorcery cards with X in the mana cost, called Mind Grind, that I'll get onto later. So that is all of my creatures. Next up is our sorceries. I am running a playset of Tome Scours. Probably guessed that by now. It's obvious in any mill deck. So it's a 1-drop, it's blue, and target player puts the top 5 cards of the library into the graveyard. So obviously I can mill for 5 on turn 1, and paired with Dismantled Guildmage, it's an absolute bomb. Tome Scour. 2 Pilfered Plans. It's a 1 blue-black. Target player puts the top 2 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Alone, that's rubbish, but the next part is draw 2 cards. So it's card advantage and mill at the same time, which is kind of cool. Quite nice when I'm stuck for cards, especially when I've used them all to mill my opponent out. 2 Paranoid Delusions. It's a blue and black. Target player puts the top 3 cards of the library into the graveyard in Cypher. Cypher is basically like it enchants the creature, but it encodes itself onto the creature, and whenever that deals combat damage to a player, I can recast Paranoid Delusions for free. So it's good in the long run. I know it's a 2-drop, and I can just Tome Scour them, but if I attach that to my difficult rogue, then it becomes pretty unstoppable. And the legendary, well, that's not the type, but it is legendary in my opinion. It's Mind Grind. It's X, blue and black. Each opponent reveals cards from the top of his or her library until he or she reveals X land cards, then puts all the cards revealed this way into the graveyard. This is an amazing card because since decks are mainly always 40% lands, 36, no 24 lands, sorry. That means that yeah, it's not just normal cards, because if I do land cards, it gets more for the mana, and especially paired with Cryptghast, I can double the swamps, and this can get really powerful. After I play Cryptghast, I can start grinding for like 9 or 10 lands, which is a definite game ender. My final sorcery, it's a great one from Theros. It's Read the Bones. It's a 2 black, and scry 2, then draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. So not only can I draw 2 cards like with divination, but I get the scry 2, which means I have control over what I can draw. And the lose 2 life, it's really not significant compared to what it can do. It's like a shock land. You're not really bothered about paying the 2 life, but you get the land untapped, which is what makes shock lands really cool, which is why I want some for my deck, but that's a different story altogether. Last but certainly not least are the instants, of which there are numerous. I have 3 Doomblades. These are great removal, one of the best in my opinion. It's 1 black, and I can destroy non-black creature. This is a really good deal for 2 mana. If I'm playing against a black deck, I'll obviously remove these and replace them with something better, like Hero's Downfall. That's a really good one, but they're quite valuable, so maybe I can't get my hands on them. But so the main reason I have these removal cards is because when I'm doing a mill deck, it's hard to defend myself against like aggro creatures and burn spells, which is why I have the counter in here. But the Doomblade is to get rid of those powerful creatures for me. Next, linked to that point before, are the Crippled Incursions. 2 black, exile all creature cards from target player's graveyard, and I gain 3 life for each card exiled this way. You can imagine this fitting in a mill deck, because if I'm milling for loads of cards, let's say they have I don't know, 5 creatures, which is a fair assumption, in mid game. If I do Crippled Incursion, I can exile them to make sure they can't get them back with cards like Elixir of Immortality and Psychic Spiral, and I get 3 life for each one, so that's 15 life for 3, and that just keeps me alive. It's a great card, it really is. And I also run 2 Psychic Strikes, 1 blue black, counter target spell, and I mill the controller for 2. So this combines counter and mill in 1 card, which is always good. And it doesn't just counter a creature spell or an instant or sorcery, it can counter any spell, which makes it really handy. I have some more counter spells in here. I have Negate, which is this 1 blue counter target non-creature spell. I have Essence Scatter, which is the same but for a creature spell. And Dissolve. This is 1 blue, so it's a 3-drop, and I can counter any spell and scry 1. So think of this as the Psychic Strike, but instead of milling for 2, I get the scry 1. And another bit of removal here is Far and Away. I'll just turn that right way for you. So fuse cards, if you don't know already, you can cast one or both halves at the same time. So one side, far for 1 blue, return target creature to its owner's hand. And away, 2 black, target player sacrifices a creature. And finally, Frost Breath. 2 blue, tap up the 2 target creatures, and they don't untap during their controller's next untap step. I had a friend once, who shall remain unnamed, and he once cast this on his turn, so he wasted being able to tap a creature for an extra turn, because if you wait till after their untap step, you can make this work for another turn. So he's learnt his lesson there. And that almost finishes our deck here, but we have 2 exclusives. This guy, just a little bit. He is Jace Memory Adept. Any mill deck should run this card, definitely. I need a couple more. 1 really isn't enough, but there you go. It's 3 blue, and he comes in with 4 loyalty points. His +1 is draw a card, and I can mill an opponent for 1 card. So it's great to be able to draw a card. But my favourite ability is the middle one. For 0, target player puts the top 10 cards of the library into the graveyard. So being able to mill for 10 for no cost is just absolutely amazing. And again, this paired with a Dismantle Guildmage, 10 damage, and mill for 10 for 3 mana. It's absolutely great combo. And the -7, any number of target players each draw 20 cards, which is alright for a game ender. And but the only thing I have with that is it's not really card advantage, because they actually get to draw them rather than milling them. So yeah, they have control over what they can keep in the hand. And finally is Codex Shredder. This is an amazing artifact. I definitely need to play a set of this. So it's a 1-drop, so I can get out on turn 1 and tap it to mill an opponent for 1 card. So if I'm out of mill spells, each turn I can just tap it and just mill for 1, which is dead handy. And the 5th tap and sacrifice it is return target card from your graveyard to your hand. So if someone kills my Jace, or in some rare occasion my Earthling, I can just get it back and have it alive and kicking again. So it's always good to have that second option. And that concludes my Dimir Mill deck tech. Hope you enjoyed. Next time, hopefully over the weekend, we'll be filming some games with RJ. He's got an Izzet burn deck, so the two should be quite cool to play against each other. I hope you look forward to the videos. I'm sorry for the big delay, and I'll see you later. Bye.